you back? Are my YouTubers back? I apologize. We had a glitch. The video and the audio went off. So, okay, Lucy, check it now and see. Thank you for okay, Bozen says, thank you. How about the doctor doing a scope every 3 years? I'm worried about them nicking something. I mean, that's always a concern, right? But maybe you do 2 in a row, or maybe, 3 years might be, if you're going to go off of your PPI and see if your diet has helped, maybe you want to do it a little sooner than 3 years. And you know what? Just tell them, say, this really, okay, good, Lucy. Thank you for letting me know. I went off and came back on, so I appreciate it. Thank you so much. So now I hope everybody comes back that was on it. Yeah, these are always the things when we're on a live stream. I mean, we're going to have these concerns, and it seems like YouTube is having glitches more often than Instagram. But Bozen, I don't know, I'm not in your shoes, so it's hard for me to answer. But yes, I feel your concern about doing any type of invasive, because that's invasive procedure. There's always a risk for harm, okay? It is what it is. But you have the condition, and I don't know which is worse, the nicking, which they'll see hopefully when they do it, and then as they're pulling back out from pulling it back out, they might see that they nicked it and they can cauterize it right then and there. Or if you get done with the procedure and you get bleeding, at least they can go back down and cauterize it. But for the most part, Bozen, a bleed like that will heal on itself quite rapidly, and they wouldn't need to go down, okay? If you have no blood clot disorders, it'll likely cauterize on its own. Okay. Shane says, I shattered my tibia bone, so it's in the lower leg. Any diet or other kind of advice you can give me? 1, make sure you're getting your protein. Try not to take anti-inflammatories. Remember, bone is made up of protein. I don't know how old Shane is, but the biggest component of bone is protein. And so you need to increase your protein and don't take any medications that could decrease healing time. All right? Those are my biggest ones. I would also maybe take some K2, vitamin K2, and maybe a combination of D3, K2 for a short period of time. Okay? All right. Oh, it looks like Lucy already, I was gonna take care of that one, but thank you, Lucy. I appreciate that. Wow. Hello, Carney. Thank you for being here. Simply taking calcium might lower vitamin D, though. So I don't know why you're taking calcium. If you're eating foods fortified, if you're eating dairy, it's going to have enough calcium in it. I probably would not take calcium. Being 28 years old, I don't know what your diet is like. I don't know if collagen will work. You could eat bone broth, but taking a powder, which is processed, I don't know if it'll work. These are all good questions, but when you say I am taking protein, does that mean you're taking, I am taking protein, does that mean that you're taking a processed protein, a powdered protein, or are you eating whole foods? I would eat steak, eggs, ground beef, turkey, chicken, lamb, bison, buffalo, sheep. Yes, I would take in all of those things. You need more protein than you think you need as a 28-year-old. It's gonna take a lot for bone healing. But at 28 years old, you healing is in your favor. It's going to be much easier. Hello, Draw. Thank you for being here. English Club, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Available says, ma'am, I have a deficiency of vitamin D3. How do you know? And what do you consider a deficiency? My age is 24. What food can I eat to fix my deficiency? Sardines. Eat some sardines. Great source of vitamin D. But I don't know what your level is, so I can't. It's very important, I think, for you guys to make sure that you get an active vitamin D and a stored vitamin D level. Your active to stored vitamin D should be around 2 to 1. So a somewhat normal active vitamin D level should be around 45. And a normal stored vitamin D level should be around 21, 22, 23, somewhere in there. Okay? So what you think is deficiency may not be if you have enough active vitamin D. If you have a stored vitamin D of 80, you might not be able to convert that to active vitamin D. Stored vitamin D does not equal active vitamin D. All right? Okay. Shane says, I'm eating processed protein powder. I would probably stop that. A lot of egg whites. The most nutritional part of the egg is in the yolk. Egg whites is basically all albumin, and it can cause a lot of a type of intolerances. I don't want to say allergic reactions, but intolerance. And why would you be limiting your fat? You need fat. My main concern is will I be able to run, dance, and stuff like that? Shane, if you want to run, dance, and stuff like that, you will be able to. Don't be a negative Nelly. Eat your protein, get your fat, eat the whole eggs, eat fatty sources of meat, and enjoy some time off. When the doctor says that you can go back to weight bearing, get back in there. Start exercising. You need to lift weights. Even calf raises will help stimulate bone growth. So anytime that a muscle contracts on a bone, it causes that tugging nature causes bones to stimulate osteoblasts to form. And so at 28, you're going to heal just fine. You're going to be able to run, dance, and do all that stuff. John asked, do I recommend a dried, fried squid for a good source of protein? I have absolutely no idea how much protein is in dried, fried squid. But what are you frying it in? I don't know about that. That would be my question. But I don't even think I've ever eaten squid. Survivor, thank you. We're on the same wavelength, I believe. Okay. I'm checking over here. Lucy says we're all good. Okay, everything's going well. Ectomorph. Okay, ma'am, I am an ectomorph body type. How do I gain weight? I'm 44 kilos at age 23. So you take 44 times 2.2 and you'll get pounds. So he or she, I don't know. They didn't say man or woman, boy or girl. So an ectomorph, at 150 pounds, how tall are you? But in order to gain weight and gain healthy weight that you're likely wanting to gain, it sounds like that's what you want to do, is increase animal foods. You want a 2 to 1 ratio of fat to protein. Okay? Light Switches says, I ate live sardines while fishing in San Diego. Tastes better than anchovies. I've never experienced that, but it sounds good. I do like sardines. Okay. All right. Uncle Charlie says, I was 325 pounds, now at 179 pounds. A1C was 18. 18. Now it's 5. I mean, you guys, 18 is, I mean, that blood sugar was probably 500. I mean, I've never even seen an 18. I've seen 10s, 12s, and 18. Whoa. Okay. And now down to 5. Eating beef, butter, bacon, and eggs on Dr. Ken Berry's, yes, primal diet, right? Proper human diet, Dr. Berry. And Uncle Charlie, who doesn't want to, well, if you had that much weight and you went from 325 down to 179, who does not want to do that? That is a success story. They had severe diabetes and went down to not diabetes. I mean, that is a miracle story. Uncle Charlie, thank you for sharing that. It just helps other people know that all these things are possible. Lucy says, does matcha have oxalate? Absolutely it does. Yeah, I gave up. I was drinking green matcha tea. Yep, gave it up. Okay. I'm going to skip, well, let me see. Any questions? I don't see. Oh my gosh, Uncle Charlie, that's crazy. Uncle Charlie is reiterating an A1C of 18 put him at a blood sugar of 800. It's just amazing that you did not die. Wow. I bet the ER was freaking out when you came in. I bet they were freaking out. I bet you were on so much insulin, you couldn't see straight in order to get that blood sugar down. Okay. Robert asks, what is the standard blood test for D levels? Usually they'll get a stored vitamin D level, 25 beta hydroxy, something like that. Whereas an active form, you have to really ask them for it, and they probably won't know. So look it up and then write it down and say, can you get this level too? A calcitriol level, and it will give you the active vitamin D. And that's what you really need to know in addition to the stored vitamin D. You want to get that ratio because you don't want to be increasing vitamin D when you don't need it. And we're all set to, our vitamin D is 20. We need to take vitamin D. If you take too much vitamin D, you're going to lower vitamin A. If you lower vitamin A, you're going to lower copper. If you lower copper, you're going to cause iron to be driven into the liver where we don't need it anymore. We don't need it. So taking supplements without checking levels is not in our best interest. We could be causing more harm than good. We need to know our ratios. We need to know all of the information. Your doctor probably would say that a level of stored vitamin D at 20, 21 is fine. And it may be as long as your active vitamin D is 2 times that, 43, 44, 45. Hopefully this is making sense. Good, Shane. I'm glad that, thank you for letting me know that you're understanding. I appreciate that. H report says, I'm male, 23 years old, 100 pounds, 5'8". Should I take creatine, whey protein to get muscle? Well, neither of those things will probably build muscle, okay? If I were you, I would consume whole foods in the form of animal-based diet. I would eat fatty cuts of beef, bison, buffalo, sheep, lamb. I would get a ratio. I would probably try to take in your 100 pounds. Let's just say your goal weight is, and I'm just saying this, I don't know what your goal weight, let's just say it's 170. You want to at least get 170 grams of protein, of quality protein from animal sources, and probably 200 grams of fat from animal sources. And that will help you gain muscle in addition to lifting weights, resistance training, bands or weights, kettlebells, those sort of thing. What do oxalates do in our body? Oxalates are like crystals. They are sharp crystals. Oxalates are anti-nutrients. Oxalates block the absorption of nutrients that we need in our body. Oxalates are in most all plants, some more than others. And so when you're rating teas, you know, the teas that have the highest oxalates are the ones that don't stay in the ground. You pick the leaves fast, you know, first versus other teas. Some teas you leave sitting in the ground longer. They're going to have, you know, more oxalates, but they're also going to be exposed to more heavy metals that are in the soil. Again, I try not to consume any plants with the exception of coffee, and I leave it at that. So I'm trying to keep oxalates, phytates, tannins, saponins all low. I don't want those anti-nutrients. Shane asks, what are any diet advice that for fatty liver? So I'm assuming you have fatty liver, so I would not eat anything that you have been eating or drinking that caused your fatty liver. I would probably do an elimination diet of meat, salt, and water. Fatty cuts of meat, salt, and water. And your fatty liver will be gone in no time. I would also add in sprints once you are able to. And you might need to start on sprinting on a bicycle, like a stationary bicycle or a stationary rower or a stationary skier. But yeah, fatty liver is caused by high amounts of blood sugar causing high amounts of insulin, high amounts of fructose, high amounts of alcohol. All of those things lead to fatty liver disease, okay? Ectopic fat. You have ectopic fat. You likely have fatty tongue if you have fatty liver. You have fatty heart if you have fatty liver. You have fatty pancreas if you have fatty liver. You have fatty kidneys if you have fatty liver. So you got a fatty organ disease, okay? And by going low or no carb and consuming an elimination diet of meat, salt, and water, ruminant meat, salt, and water, your fatty liver will resolve. You'll start seeing your waist shrinking down. That fat that's on your waist will start, those love handles will start to go away. It's a beautiful thing if that's what you want. Uncle Charlie had fatty liver. It doesn't surprise me with an A1C. Your insulin level, I'm curious, did Uncle Charlie, did they ever get your insulin level? Oh my gosh, I can just imagine how high your insulin. Fatty liver, fatty kidney, fatty heart, fatty pancreas. Nothing was working for Uncle Charlie. Crazy. You were on metformin every 6 hours. So max dose of metformin is usually around 1,800 milligrams, maybe 2,000 at the max. So that would be 500 milligrams 4 times a day. So every 6 hours. Yeah, gosh, Uncle Charlie, that is a story. Did you tell Dr. Barry about that? Does Dr. Barry know about your story? That's incredible. Thank you for being here, Uncle Charlie, and talking about and sharing your testimony, sharing your story with people who think that nothing can be helped. So the key word here, Uncle Charlie had those things, had fatty liver, had fatty kidney, had fatty heart, had fatty pancreas, had, no longer has, okay? So Shane, hopefully I answered your question. You need to get rid of the carbs, alcohol, fructose, any type of fructose. Uncle Charlie defied gravity. Heard his doctor says that he was going to be on insulin for life. Gal. Uncle Charlie, isn't it amazing? That doctor, I mean, could have, I don't like revenge, but maybe just going in and saying, hey, you know what? I just wanted to let you know I'm off my insulin. You can see that I've lost over 150 pounds. Yeah, everything's great. I don't have any medicines. My fatty liver is gone. My fatty pancreas is gone. My fatty kidney's gone. My fatty tongue is gone. I don't have sleep apnea anymore. I don't snore. My tongue is normal size. Oh, yeah, throwing up. You're from ketoacidosis. Wow. I'm surprised you didn't go into a coma. Oh, there you go. They wanted to know how I'm alive and why I ain't in a coma. Exactly. That was the first thing that just popped into my head, and then I read it. Oh my goodness. Best nutrition for a patient having weight loss. So you have weight loss and you don't want to weight loss anymore? Let me know. I just don't understand your question, Doc. Oh, Light Switches says they are allergic to soy. Praise the Lord. Hi, Sean. Thank you for being here. Uncle Charlie also cold plunges 3 minutes a day, 40 degrees water. I also follow Dana White, Joe Rogan. The Uncle Charlie, in order to preserve your testosterone levels, please do not cold plunge after workouts, okay? If you're gonna cold plunge, do it at separate times of your workouts, okay? So do not do those in conjunction, either before or after, but especially not after, okay? Also, what is the benefits of cold plunging for Uncle Charlie? I'm guessing Uncle Charlie wants to increase metabolism because it's been kind of shut down for years, likely, okay? Cold plunges have been shown to change some white fat to more brown fat. As we age, as we're not an infant anymore, we have very little brown fat on us. Brown fat is brown because of mitochondria. Mitochondria are very metabolically active. So our metabolism, so to speak, is more active with more brown fat. As we age, we're adults, our brown fat is situated in our chest area here and our neck. That's where most of our brown fat is. But if we want to help conversion some of our white fat to kind of brown fat, which is called beige fat, cold plunges have been shown to do that, to increase our beige fat content on our body. A good thing. Also, being in ketosis, ketones help increase beige fat production. Crazy, right? Just those two things. Everything Uncle Charlie's doing, Uncle Charlie is going to go from having suitcases of fat, of white fat, to more beige fat, and at 150 pounds less. Not diabetic, no more fatty liver and fatty pancreas and fatty kidney and fatty tongue and sleep apnea and hypertension and all of these things. It's just amazing. I'm wowed by Uncle Charlie's testimony. Fabian says, what is that new fashion of living food? New fashion of living food. Have you heard of it? I don't think I have heard of it. And that new fashion of living food. Yeah, I don't know. Help me out. Angie, thank you for the gift. I appreciate it. Shane says, Doctor, I don't mean any disrespect when I ask you this, but the protein powder and calcium were prescribed by the doctor. I genuinely want to know why you think my doc could be wrong. Protein powder is processed. I don't know what protein you're using, but I'm hoping it's not a plant protein, which is a very weak source of essential amino acids that you need. If it's whey or casein, it's in and out of your body will use it very rapidly, like within an hour, and then it's out of your system. It's nothing like eating the real thing. Why? If your doctor wants you to increase protein, why would they tell you to increase protein powder? It tells me that, Shane, and I mean no disrespect to you, but your doctor might have a condition called ignorosis. Osis means a condition of ignorance. So for them to tell you to increase a protein powder, which is denatured amino acids, you could have said, eat a steak instead of protein powder. Protein powders are fast acting, they're denatured, and they can spike blood sugars, very much so, leading to or increasing your risk of diabetes. Calcium tablets does not know about calcium in conjunction with vitamin D or magnesium or copper or vitamin A or iron overload. So Shane, I'm sorry that you've been told these things, but if you trust your doctor, you do your thing and with your doctor and recheck things, okay? That's all there is. And I did not take any disrespect for you, but I appreciate Shane prefacing his question to me. Thank you. That was very kind of you. Oh, Sean. This one hits home. Sean asked, do you have any recommendations for severe hip arthritis? Well, I don't know how far along your hip is, but maybe, Sean, the best thing for you to do is start over. Maybe you do need a hip replacement, okay? If you do a hip replacement early on, they can go from the anterior aspect. If they go from the anterior aspect, the healing time and the amount of tissue trauma that occurs is much less than if they have to do a posterior entry to replace that hip. Now, again, I don't know how far along Sean is in his hip arthritis, but if it's early, maybe, just maybe, you could do stem cells. You could do platelet-rich plasma. You could go on a carnivore diet because you want an anti-inflammatory diet. You want basically no carbs. You especially don't want plants. They're very inflammatory. So maybe doing an elimination, a carnivore diet or a lion diet, which is meat, salt, ruminant meat, salt, and water. That might help. I don't know, but I would try these things. I wish more people would know that you could help either stall your progression or maybe even reverse it a little bit by decreasing the inflammation. And maybe it buys you time. But yeah, I feel for you having hip pain. Hip pain. Most people don't know they have hip pain. They might say, I have knee pain and the knee is fine, or I have groin pain, or you might have this little limp and you say, you know what, it's not that bad. You don't feel it, but everybody else notices it. Those are the early stages. Okay. H report says, ma'am, I can't eat meat due to religious beliefs. All meat or just some meats? Can you eat fish? Fish is not really considered a meat. So can you eat fish? Can you eat eggs with your religious beliefs? Okay. Lucy says, thanks, Dr. J. I stopped drinking coffee and started drinking matcha tea just to cut some calories to lose a bit more body fat. Lost 3 pounds, but don't really want anti-nutrients blocking all the good stuff I eat. Exactly, Lucy. I mean, I don't want my $25 ribeye to be worth about $5 when I get done with all the oxalates and phytates that are in plants. So I definitely would not drink my morning coffee with a ribeye steak. How about that? Then this Naruto says, what about drinking coffee right when you wake up? Is this good? Is it bad? You know, you're going to get 10 different answers on this. You know, I know that the natural heart doctor, he's a cardiologist, and he will tell you that coffee is good for you. At this point, coffee is a plant, and it's going to be full of phytates and oxalates. It's also going to be high in heavy metals. Could you get an oxalate-free coffee? Yes. Could you get an organic coffee? Yes. But you're still going to have, you can't live in a bubble, so it can't be perfect. But as long as you know all of the information, all of the ramifications of drinking coffee, which I do, now you have to make a decision for yourself. Right now, I've decided I'm going to drink coffee. I enjoy it. You know, I eat meat and eggs the rest of the time, and I'm going to say, you know what? I might live the rest of my life drinking coffee until, my dad always used to say that too. I probably will never stop drinking coffee. And then he reached about 70 years old and he never drank it again. He just said, it doesn't taste very good anymore. So maybe we reach an age where it just doesn't taste very good anymore. I don't know. But you have to make that decision for yourself. Just like people who say, you know what, doctor, I hear everything you're saying, but I'm still going to eat broccoli. And I go, I hope you're not a guy because I want you to have high testosterone levels and be a man. But yeah, plants will decrease your natural production of testosterone. Speaking of testosterone, if you have high insulin, your testosterone levels are going to be very, very low. I imagine Uncle Charlie had very low testosterone levels. I wonder if they checked it. I would be interested. 1910 says, Uncle Charlie, you made Dr. J's day. Great story. Yep, 1910, I agree. Yeah, I bet my smile got really big when I heard that story. Crazy. Gosh. I just, honestly, it's hard to even believe. When I see people lose that much weight, when I see 150 pounds, 200, somebody's losing 200 pounds and they go from an A1C of 18 down to 5, insulin level probably, I mean, leptin, imagine the leptin level. The leptin level, I bet, was 100. Oh, my goodness, my goodness. It's hard for me to even fathom. Doc Awoke said, so I'll just say Doc. Doc says, my patient lost around 8 kilos, so about 20 pounds, right? In 1 month without any medical illness. Okay, what did they do? Doc, we would love to know. 20 pounds in a month, that's a lot. But initially when people go, if the person was carnivore, I don't know. But when we go low carb, carnivore, ketovore, that in a month, I've seen people easily lose 20 pounds, but that 20 pounds is usually a shift in loss of pathologic water. Water in our body can be good for us, physiologic, but also can be pathologic, and it's usually in all the wrong places. So when we lower, and insulin causes the retention of this water, this sodium, and this pathological sodium and this pathological water is due to high insulin. And so when a person goes from a standard American diet to a low carb, ketovore, carnivore, lion diet, the insulin levels drop fast, okay? And that forces a whole bunch of pathologic water loss and pathologic salt loss, because they travel together. So it's very important that people who go cold turkey from a standard American diet that's high in carbs to a carnivore, a low carb or a no carb diet, that they replace sodium or salt. A good source of salt could be Diamond brand or Jacobson's or Baja Gold. It's very important to replace salt early on when we start a carnivore diet. I choose to continue with salt. I think it's important I like it, but I think it's important to get electrolytes checked, RBC magnesium levels checked fairly regularly, maybe every 4 or 5 months, getting your electrolytes, RBC magnesium levels checked. Make sure that your sodium is not too high, because if you have high sodium, you are going to have low potassium. And then if you have low potassium, you might notice that you're getting leg cramps. If you have high sodium, you're likely going to have low magnesium, because low potassium and low magnesium ride together. So these are some of the things that can cause low potassium. So we just got to be careful, okay? It's good either to have somebody who's very well versed in these things, but if you say that your doctor doesn't know anything about these things, I would try to find somebody who does know. You don't want to go to a doctor who has a condition of ichnerosis and they're telling you to consume protein powders that will do nothing for your fractured tibia healing. You need to eat real food, okay? And if you don't know that if you increase calcium, you start increasing calcium, you're also going to lower potassium. Are they even checking? They just say, take these calcium tablets. Well, these calcium tablets, or people who eat a whole bunch of calcium fortified foods, are going to end up with high or low potassium, high sodium, low magnesium. I'm not trying to confuse you, but whenever we have a condition of high calcium, high sodium, we're going to get low magnesium and low potassium. And we're just causing problems by people like him telling us things like that. I mean, to me, it is a condition of ichnerosis. And I'm sorry that you can defend your doctor. That's fine. It's up to you. But maybe you need to educate yourself and not rely so much on, maybe you want to call me a condition of ichnerosis. Then you shouldn't rely on me. You need to rely on yourself. Start looking stuff up yourself. Okay. Uncle Charlie says, Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, I bought 1 pound of grass-fed beef, 5 egg yolks, 3 whole eggs, 1 meal a day. That's, I mean, if it's working for you, Uncle Charlie, if you still have fat on your body, Uncle Charlie, you're going to get by with 1 meal a day. If the fat on your body starts to really, really go down, you might want to consider adding another meal in there, okay? Add another meal in there. You don't want to be malnourished. You don't want to starve your body. You cannot be in starvation if you have fat on your body, okay? So people who fast and, say they don't eat for a month, if they have adequate stores of body fat, they will break those fatty acids down and into ketones and use those ketones as an energy source. If their body fat is gone and they're not eating, now they go into real starvation, the actual definition of starvation, which means they have no ability to make ketones, okay? Because you need fatty acids to make ketones. And so that person actually is starving, and then they will start to break down their muscles, and they will try to extract energy from their muscles. Not a good situation when muscle is the organ of longevity. Uncle Charlie says, I was at my doctor's office at 193, and the doctor, a she, said, don't lose no more weight. You're at 179 now. Uncle Charlie, it just goes to show you that, what you're doing is good for you, right? Sonny, this would probably need some sort of counseling in order for you to increase your willpower and self-motivation. There is a book that you might want to consider reading. It's called Atomic Habits. Maybe reading that book might spur your interest in how to learn about willpower and learn about self-motivation. But likely there's something underlying. There's some underlying thing where if you feel that your motivation and willpower are lacking, it could relate to some sort of trauma bond from childhood. And it's actually preventing you from wanting to motivate yourself. Because, and it's possible, I'm just giving an example, that if you were motivated, there's a higher risk that there's an increased risk that you would be motivated to do something else different. So say you're going to be motivated to run a 5K, but the way you were brought up and you were maybe neglected emotionally or physically, you were neglected, you were taught that being a failure is something you're going to live with for the rest of your life. And so if you are wanting to avoid failure, you're never going to try anything new or do anything different. So that would decrease your motivation or decrease your willpower, because if you were to try something different, you might see yourself failing. There's a high chance that you're going to fail. And you've been taught that's comfortable for you is to not do anything so you don't fail. Thank you, RJ, for the gift. I appreciate it. And so that could be a stumbling block for you. So finding out about that inner trauma bond, why is it so comfortable not being motivated or having no willpower? Even though you think you want it, your inner self tells you you don't want it, because that puts you out there for risking failure. And that feels worse than not doing anything at all. I'm speculating, but it's a real thing, okay? Shane says, thank you, Doc. Loved your advice. We'll check this stuff with my doctor. I don't know you, but I trust you more for some reason. Shane, it could be that I pride myself in honesty. And you know what? I don't want to teach Shane anything that I'm not going to do myself, okay? If I tell you I'm drinking coffee, I'm going to tell you I'm drinking coffee. If I have pizza on New Year's Eve, I'm going to tell you I'm having pizza on New Year's Eve. I really don't have anything to hide. I don't want to teach you something and I'm hurting you. I absolutely do not want to hurt anybody listening. And so if I'm wrong about something, let me know and say, hey, did you consider, I looked something up that you said and I found this, and I go, oh my gosh, Shane, thank you for bringing that to my attention. I got to relearn that. Thank you. So it's important that we all work together. Shane, I'm on this journey with you. Okay. I was that doctor before. Okay. I had to unlearn all of the things I was taught for decades. Okay. And I'm relearning these things just like you are. I do seem to pick up on these things maybe a little faster than other people, but it could be my medical background. It could be my nutritional background with bodybuilding. It could be all of these things. And so I feel great joy sharing information with people, okay? I want to be right. I don't want to be wrong. And I will work hard at not being wrong. How about that? Stevie says, so all plants are bad. All plants have chemicals in them that are bad, okay? How could you make your plant better? Boil it. If you want to eat your plant, boil it for 20 minutes, and then less of the anti-nutrients will be in it. But Stevie, you can eat whatever plants you want to eat. I'm just telling you that plants have anti-nutrients. They do not want to be eaten. Plants have chemicals, whereas a lion has claws and fangs to eat you up. If a plant does not want to be eaten, it's going to have chemicals that will try to kill you. Plants are trying to kill you. Do you know that one of the things that got me off of plants within 24 hours is watching Dr. Anthony Chafee on YouTube during a lecture series, Plants Are Trying to Kill You. And the next day, I stopped eating plants, with the exception of the coffee, mind you, okay? So if you want to eat plants, eat the plants. No one's telling you not to eat plants. Are plants bad? Yes, I think plants are bad. Sunny says, when my father, this is interesting, and I usually don't just read comments. I want to answer your questions, but this one I think is worth talking about. So Sunny says, when my father got cirrhosis, first off, prior to having cirrhosis, your father, Sunny, likely had fibrosis. Prior to fibrosis, your father likely had fatty liver disease. Okay? Everybody missed it until he got cirrhosis, which is liver failure. Now, had the ignorosis doctor noticed that the liver enzymes were elevated on the complete metabolic profile over 15, ALT and AST, maybe got a GGT, maybe asked about the fructose intake, maybe asked about alcohol intake, your father, Sonny, might have been caught at the fatty liver disease state before they got to fibrosis, which is basically hardening of the liver. Before they got to cirrhosis, which is basically death of the liver cells. I'm sorry that you went through this, Sonny, but the doctors finding it at the time of cirrhosis, it might have been a done deal. I don't know if you could have reversed it by stopping all fructose and high fructose corn syrup, all carbohydrates, all alcohol. It's a possibility you could have reversed it. There are doctors out there who I'm sure I've never been in that position where I don't even have an N of 1 study that could say we reversed that cirrhosis, but I have heard that you could have reversed that cirrhosis. How about that? Uncle Charlie was half dead. I am glad you are not fully dead. God is working on you. He's asking you probably to give him glory and to share your story with many, 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 many people. Utkar, I do not know what to do about your small pimples on your forehead. I would need a lot more information. Doctor, you're very welcome, and I appreciate you being here. I really do. You guys over on Instagram are so, so quiet. Hi, Carrie. Oh, Lucy, I probably would just simply read. Lucy asks, how can one understand better about the sodium potassium pump? I guess just reading about it. If you think about this, if you think just in general, here's something general, Lucy, that you can help to understand. Inside a cell, potassium loves to live. And outside the cell, sodium likes to live. And the pump is this perfect back and forth transition of sodium and potassium. If sodium moves into the cell, potassium needs to move out because the cell inside is mainly negative. It wants to live in a negative environment. So for every 3 sodiums that come out of a cell, 2 potassium are going to go in. You don't want 3 and 3, or else now you're going to be positive inside the cell and positive outside the cell. You want a negative inside the cell, intracellular negative charge. That's why less positives, less potassium and sodiums, they're both positives, and they shuffle back and forth. And they have to be in this perfect gradient because a lot of things in the body depend on it, okay? And so when we start doing something like adding magnesium or adding more calcium or overdoing sodium or taking medications like hydrochlorothiazide, which is a diuretic, or a potassium sparing diuretic like spironolactone, or Lucy, it's very, very complicated to answer your question. And even I have to look things up. Okay. Even I have to look things up. But just in general, knowing levels before you just go taking supplements is in your best interest. Simply taking stuff and not knowing what you're doing to your body. God did not make a mistake when he made our body. Okay. But things we do to it can mess it up. And that includes taking supplements when we don't need it. It includes eating crapola food. That's my word. I made that up. If you are in a crapola diet, you are eating a standard American crapola diet, okay? It's crapola. It has no nutritional value, and it's messing you up. It's causing diabetes, insulin resistance. It's causing dementia and brain fog, or whatever you want to call it, and it's causing heart disease. So if you want to have a heart attack or a brain attack, which is a stroke, keep eating a crapola diet. Your chances of having one of those things occur is higher, okay? It is. There are no essential carbohydrates, in case nobody has ever told you that. There are none, zero. You could live without a carbohydrate for the rest of your life, okay? How to regrow hair again. I don't know where your problem is, but I would get levels. I would want to know some basic labs, okay? But, especially DHT. I would want to know your sex hormone binding globulin. There's so many things. Hater, I would want to get some idea, okay? I would need labs. I would need to know your medications as well. Low potassium. Kitty, thank you. I know it's just a statement, but I appreciate that. Yes. Anytime we get a bad gradient of our electrolytes or magnesium, we can increase our risk of getting seizures. You're absolutely right. So when potassium is low, magnesium is going to ride low with it. And yes, that can be a trigger because of the electrical gradient. It can be a trigger to cause seizures. Yeah. But the opposite is quite remarkable too. High potassium, high magnesium, your calcium is going to be low, your sodium is going to be low. And then maybe we need to check what medicines you're on. Are you on an ARB, an ACE inhibitor? Are you on spironolactone? Are you on any other medications that increase potassium or are potassium sparing? There's so much, right, Kitty? There's just so much that we need to know about. I don't know. Is there any more super chats? Let me go to the end here. No, it does not look like there's any super chats. So we're going to end today, you guys. We've been talking for a little over 2 hours. I am live on Saturday at 9 a.m. Central. I'm in the U.S., so I'm in the USA. So 9 a.m. Central on Saturdays, 10 a.m. So tomorrow on Sundays Central. So I will be back tomorrow, Lord willing, at 10 a.m. Central, and I'm really thinking about adding another day in here. I really love doing live streams. Angel, you're very welcome, and thank you for the gifts, the super chats, the super stickers, all of that stuff. I appreciate it. Okay, so we'll call it quits. We'll be back tomorrow, Lord willing, and hope you guys have a great Saturday. See ya.